Hi my darlings, I hope you're well and enjoying the glorious weather. Well, we've got glorious weather here anyway, so that's quite nice. I recently joined the Greater Alternative YouTube community on Facebook, and we've set ourselves a topic to talk about every month, and it's kind of May now, I understand that, but I'm kind of running behind because I haven't been very well and I've been in Whitby and all that kind of thing, so I thought I'd deal with the topic now and try and get it uploaded as soon as possible, and then obviously I can deal with the next topic as and when that comes up. So the topic we're doing at the moment is dealing with negativity, and I kind of thought that that would be a really good one for me to talk to you about, because I've had quite a lot of experience with negativity and specifically with bullying when I was a child. So I thought I'd talk to you about my story and tell you a bit more about my experiences and, you know, how I got over it and how I managed to deal with the bullies and how I managed to stay who I am and not let anybody change me. So I've always been different ever since I was a child. When I was a very young baby, I actually looked very, very different. I had a compound hemangioma on the side of my face, and it was about half the size of my face, so it was a massive kind of ball of blood vessels. It's essentially a birthmark grown completely out of control, and I've got some photos here for you. So this is me as a baby. I hope you can see that. Let's just see if it will go in focus. That's me as a baby. Picture number one. And there's another picture here a little bit more close up. Baby me, picture number two. So as you can see, really, really massive kind of ball of flesh and stuff on the side of my face there. So I spent my entire childhood pretty much in and out of Great Ormond Street Hospital in London, and they were doing all sorts of kind of tests on me, and they were trying out new techniques of how to deal with this. And eventually when I was 9 years old I had a facelift, and then age 13 I had my ear remodeled because it was a completely different size and shape to the other one, and they are still a little bit different, and this side of my face is kind of a little bit bigger as well, just because it's had more of a blood flow to it. And I was absolutely fine, always fine with having this hemangioma. You know, I was really thrilled to be going down to London, taken out of school every now and then. I love being kind of sat on a perch and photographed from all angles and that sort of thing. As I got older, they kind of took photos of me throughout the years, and as they kind of watched it get smaller, and eventually, like I said, they decided it was small enough for them to kind of do the surgery on me. So it wasn't a problem to me. It was always just part of who I was, and I had no problem at all with it. But people at school obviously had different ideas. So when I first started going to school, I don't really remember. I don't remember very much about my childhood, but I guess I must have kind of integrated reasonably well with the kids, because when you're really small, you don't really care about the way that somebody else looks, you just care about whether or not they're fun to play with. But as they got older, kids kind of started to pick up their parents and their elder siblings' prejudices, and eventually I ended up spending most of my school years with only very, very few friends. I've got one friend who's still my friend today, Lucy, who's like my best friend ever. We're sisters by different mothers, essentially. We just kind of get on really, really well. But everyone else spent a lot of time, when everybody got into little groups and cliques and stuff, you know, bullying me because I looked different, and because I didn't really get on with people because of that, I kind of drifted away and started doing things my own way. So instead of playing games in the playground with everybody else, I was hanging out on my own, or with Lucy, or with one or two occasional other friends that I had, just kind of playing my own games and my games of imagination, and pretending that I was, you know, an ecolicorn, you know, flying around the playground and stuff like that. And that was great for me. I kind of lived in my imagination, and that was brilliant, but none of the kids really understood it because I wasn't playing with them. But I wasn't playing with them because they bullied me, so why would I want to play with them? So they bullied me more. It was very, very rarely physical. It was mostly psychological. It was mostly, you know, why do you look like that? Why do you do these things? Why do you play this game? Why do you do that? I went to a Christian school. It was supposedly really good for like teaching and that kind of thing, but actually the pastoral care was rubbish. We'll get to that in a minute, but basically the kids are all like, why don't you believe in God and all this stuff, because they'd obviously been brought up to believe in God, and I'd been brought up by atheists, so I still don't believe in God. And, you know, I was always bullied for my thoughts, my ideas, my beliefs, my imagination, the way that I looked, everything that they could possibly bully about me, they bullied me for. And the teachers, like I said, there was really, really poor pastoral care. They either didn't care at all, or I got the playground monitors telling me, "Oh, just stay away from them, dear," and I couldn't, of course, because I'd go somewhere and the kids would follow me. So I spent quite a lot of time kind of hiding from the children and finding other places to go that they wouldn't follow me, and they still followed me and they still bullied me, and I was hiding, so it was kind of out of the view of the playground monitors and stuff, so they never really saw any of it. So anyway, this kind of continued, and then I moved to a different school. Obviously I went to high school, and when I got there, the bullying continued. It was from new people, so I was obviously seen as an easy target because I was different. I was quite withdrawn, and I wasn't really, you know, hanging out in groups of friends and stuff, and chatting and that sort of thing with groups of friends. So I'd get, you know, older girls pushing me into the bushes, and one or two of the kids there were really, really evil. They were just really evil. They'd obviously come from really broken homes themselves and just didn't do very well, and so they were the ones who kind of bullied me. I kind of understood from quite a young age that if I got ahead and if I did really well in my studies, then I would end up getting ahead in my life, and a lot of the kids who bullied me were really obviously not interested in school. They didn't want to be there, they were obviously really unhappy themselves, and so I understood that if I paid attention and if I wasn't disruptive and if I learned things, then I would be more likely to get ahead and therefore eventually get away from them, you know, when I finally left school. So basically, like I said, I've kind of always been bullied throughout school, and it wasn't until I got to secondary school and started making friends there amongst the geeks and the kids in the library and the kind of the alternative people that I started to find my tribe, and I started to find my feet as a person and who I wanted to be. I hung out in the library because that was where all the sad kids hung out, and for me it was somewhere to go near books. You know, I love books, I love to read, I love learning things, so that was just brilliant for me. I spent as much time as I could in the library, and I met some really, really genuine people that way. And then later I started hanging out in the music department and got to know a lot of kind of the musical kids, and that's part of why I became a musician, almost just because I found this fantastic community of people who are really interested in music and who are willing to kind of show me new music and things that I'd never heard before and I'd never experienced before, and I was really, really interested in that and I wanted to know more. So I kind of got to know them and we kind of started hanging out, and before I knew it, I had this little tribe of people in school that I just got on really well with and who were really genuine, actual people rather than trying to be something that they weren't. So that continued throughout high school, and then obviously I left school, and by then I'd started to get to know more alternative people. So it wasn't too long before I found, you know, the goth scene and that sort of side of my tribe. And ever since then I've known that I've been where I belong. So I've been around people who are much more interested in being genuine with one another and sharing their passions with one another, rather than just kind of caring about looking right and wearing the right clothes and going to the right clubs and knowing the right people and this sort of thing and all the shallow stuff, you know. I've been much more interested in people who really care about you know, science and politics and the environment and all these other things, and I've met so many really interesting people that way. So anyway, that's kind of my story, and I just wanted to talk to you about the best ways that I think there are to avoid negativity, to deal with it, to rise above it. So point number one, I think that's really, really important, is not to let them get to you. And I know that's easier said than done, right? I totally know that, I understand. But the thing about bullies is that they want a reaction. They want you to respond to them. Quite often they're people who haven't had very much interaction with their family at home. They don't actually know how to behave in a nice manner because they've never learnt how to do that. They've never been brought up that way. What they're looking for is a response, a reaction from you that means that they can see that they've had an effect on you, and the more that they can see that they've had an effect on you, the more they're going to do that thing because they know that they're going to get a response. I think the only thing that ever really got a response from me at school was when people called me a grebo. And it was just something about that word, you know, it's like Marty McFly and chicken. You don't call him chicken, you don't call me grebo. It's just like one of those things. I really, really responded badly to the word grebo, and eventually I just learned how to bite my tongue and not let people bother me with that word. But that was the only thing I think that ever really got to me. Everything else that everybody else said, everything else that they tried to do to me, I was just like, I don't understand. You know, why are you asking me why I don't believe in God? You know, there's no empirical evidence for God. Of course I don't believe in God. You know, why are you asking me why I play these games? You know, I live in my imagination. It's just how I am. I don't understand what the question is. And actually that is the main response I'll always come back with. I don't understand your question. You know, I don't understand what you're trying to say to me, because what you're criticising me for is something that actually I'm quite proud of. You know, being myself and being an individual, I've always been proud of the fact that I've been willing to do that and able to do that above and beyond everything else. You know, I've never let anybody else sway me or make me behave in a different way. So yeah, I think the important thing really is to just kind of rise above the bullying and really just kind of get curious. You know, I mean, these kids quite often have come from a really terrible background themselves. They don't know how to interact with other people who are different to them. They only know how to behave with people who are the same. And that's really sad. Really, I kind of pity bullies quite a lot. I think that what they do is a way to get a response from people. It's a way to get a reaction so that somebody pays attention to them, because they just don't get that sort of attention at home, you know. Yeah, I became more of who I am rather than less of who I am the more I got bullied. So I really wanted to disassociate myself from that sort of behaviour, from the kind of people that acted that way towards me. I never wanted to be like those people, because, well, why would I? I always wanted to be who I am, and I was always curious about who I am and about the kind of things that could make me more me, if you like. And I always followed that path. I never followed the path of trying to fit in or anything like that. And I don't get people who try to fit in just for like a quiet life, because at the end of the day you're just giving up on everything that makes you you and everything that makes you unique and special. You know, and why would you want to do that? Why would you want to give up on what makes you special? Embrace what makes you special and feed that fire and use it to become something really, really different, you know, because heaven forbid we should all be the same. That would be the most boring world ever if everybody was the same. Yeah, my recommendations for dealing with negativity, especially with bullying, are spend time, you know, really cultivating who you are. Learn about who you are, about the things that you like, about the things that you don't like, about the kind of life that you want to live. Spend time with self-development stuff. There's thousands of blogs out there and books and other such things that you can really learn about how to really bring out the best qualities in you. Repeat to yourself often the good things about yourself. So stand in front of a mirror or just sit there and think about it in your head. You know, I am cool, you know, I am brilliant at XYZ, I look fantastic in a corset, I listen to brilliant music, I make fantastic music, I've got brilliant friends, I am curious, I am intelligent, I am special. You know, just keep repeating these things over and over and over to yourself, and you will eventually believe them, and they will get you through your darkest days, okay? Because you'll start to believe that actually you are a worthwhile human being, and you're not these awful, ugly, horrible things that the bullies say you are. You know, everything that the bullies say to you is a reflection of the bullies. It's got nothing to do with you whatsoever. It's a reflection of what's going on inside their heads. And if they can only see ugliness, if they can only see negative things, if they can only see bad things about other people, what a really sad life that is to live. You know, to never see beauty, to never see the wonder of learning a new thing or becoming more of who you are. You know, it's just such a tiny, shallow world to live in. It's really sad. And you are better than that, because you're refusing to let those people affect you. You're refusing to give in to their behaviour. Yeah, so haters gonna hate, right? There's that whole phrase that everybody's using now, thanks Taylor Swift, you know. Haters are gonna hate, and they're gonna latch onto anything and anyone you know. And what's really interesting is that the haters have still noticed you. So it's not that they've just gone, oh, you're not worth my time. They've gone, oh, here's a person that I have a problem with for God knows what reason. I'm just going to hate on them. And I'm going to hate on them and hate on them and hate on them until I crush them. But actually, you don't need to be crushed, because eventually they'll give up, especially if you're not responding. But what's really interesting is that the haters are still paying attention to you. They've still noticed you. So you're still noticeable as a person. You're not sheeple. You're not like everybody else. Because if you were like everybody else, they wouldn't have noticed you. And being noticeable is really, really admirable. It's a great thing. It just means that you stand out from the crowd and you're not the same as everybody else. It's a brilliant thing to be. So if you're in school still, remember that this isn't going to last forever, okay? I know that it feels like school goes on for your entire life, but it's really just a very, very tiny, short period of time. And eventually you're going to be free of those people. Most of the time you're never going to see them again. You know, these are the people who are just going to end up living really small lives and aren't ever really going to get anywhere. Whereas if you're willing to stay curious and stay positive and get through this awful short period of time while these horrible people are bullying you, you're going to live such an incredible life. And it's so worth waiting for that, you know. Even in my darkest hours, I would never have dreamed the kind of life that I live now, you know, where I'm a professional musician and I'm in bands and I'm meeting hundreds of people all the time and getting to know loads and loads of fantastic people, making so many friends and just getting on really, really well with people. And now I've found my tribe. You know, I'm going to Whitby and I'm spending whole days hugging people. Just going from person to person, hugging them and saying, oh my God, I haven't seen you for ages, how are you? It's fantastic. And just all these amazing people that I've met just because I've hung on to who I am and stayed curious and stayed alternative and unique and remained who I want to be rather than letting anybody push me aside or make me try and be like everyone else. I know bullying can get to the point where it's really, really awful. I really understand that. I've been there. Always, always, always talk to somebody that you trust, okay? Because even if it feels really trivial, the things that these people are doing, they do lots and lots and lots of little trivial things that eventually build up. They just kind of hack away at you a tiny bit at a time, and eventually all these things just kind of pile up on top of you. So always talk to somebody that you trust, okay? That can be a parent or a teacher or a friend or somebody on the internet, or there are lots and lots of really brilliant organisations out there. There's here in the UK, there's the Samaritans. There are loads and loads of other anti-bullying charities and mental health charities and that sort of thing who will help you. If you're feeling really, really depressed, then please go to the doctor. Please try and either get antidepressants or counselling. I highly advocate counselling because it will help you to develop the mindset that you need to get through this period of time. But what's really important is that you do what's right for you, and whatever that happens to be. But always talk to somebody, because problem shared really is a problem halved, and quite often they'll help to see things from an external point of view, where they'll be able to give you solutions to problems that you don't think there are solutions for, and they'll be able to help you to get through it, and certainly at least to support you and to help you to find your group and your tribe. So that kind of leads me on to another point, which is something I was saying earlier about kind of self-development. So find the things that really make you light up inside. Find the hobbies that you absolutely love. Find the things that you love to do and do them. And join groups of people that do those things, you know, because you'll find your tribe, you'll find the people that really matter to you that way, and you'll soon find a group of people that you can really trust and you can reach out to, and who care about you and who want to be there for you and who could become lifelong friends. One thing that a lot of self-development coaches suggest, and I'm going to suggest it too, is to keep a gratitude diary. So quite often when you're stuck in this kind of sense of being trapped almost, especially if you're at school and you can't get away from the bullies. You can, if you keep a gratitude journal, it will help you to think about the things that you actually liked about your day. So it's really easy to get kind of stuck in this sort of negative thought spiral where you think only bad things happened. But actually, you know, if you keep a gratitude diary and you try to think of 3 to 5 things at least per day that actually went right, or that you enjoyed, or that were okay about your day, you'll soon start to see your days in a different light, and that kind of seeing the world that way becomes a habit then, and you start to kind of feel a lot more positive about your life and about the way that things are going. So I mean, it can be something as simple as, you know, the sun was shining today and you really enjoyed it, or school lunch was alright, or you read a really interesting book, or you learnt something really interesting at school today, or something like that. So keep a gratitude journal, because quite often when we look back, and I have this problem as well, when I look back on my childhood, I can mostly only see the negative stuff. And the reason for that is because your brain actually logs the negative stuff more strongly. But the problem with that is that you don't log the positive stuff quite so well. So you don't, you know, those memories will fade and they'll just vanish unless you keep reinforcing them. And the best way to reinforce them is with that gratitude journal, so that you can write down at the end of the day those good things that happened, even if they were tiny, and eventually those things will build up and you'll be able to look back over your journal at the things that you are happy for. And that looking back and that writing down and stuff, that's all reinforcing those memories in your mind. And so eventually when you look back on your school days, or you look back on that particularly tough time of your life, you'll be able to remember the good stuff. And actually you might remember the good stuff better than you did the bad, because you've got it there in black and white written down. I'm going to talk a little bit about being a grown-up, because obviously we still do occasionally experience bullying. It's not the same as it is in school, but it can still happen, especially in the work environment. If that's the case, is there somebody higher up that you can talk to about that person who's bullying you? You know, I mean, even if it's your boss, have they got a boss? Or can you speak to your human resources department or something like that about that person's behaviour? Because it is unacceptable, and really any organisation, any company should have a bullying policy, and it should enact that policy. So always, like I said, talk to somebody. And if you can go above that person, then go above that person. You know, they don't deserve any of your respect or anything like that. Any bully does not deserve respect. It's as simple as that. They're not respecting you. They do not deserve respect in response at all, ever. So do whatever you can to go above them, to go around them, to find somebody in that company who is capable of putting that person in their place. Because bullying is completely and utterly unacceptable, and nobody should ever have to suffer it. You know, especially not in work, because, you know, you're there to make that company some money, and they should therefore look after you. So if they don't have a bullying policy, or if they don't really care, or they don't really look after you properly, update your CV and find another job. Honestly, they are not worth your time hanging around for, or, you know, if they're not respecting you, then why should you respect them in return? Improve your CV, get out there, start looking for new jobs, start looking for new things that you want to do with your life, and find the things that you're really passionate about, because then you'll meet other passionate people and you'll be able to get ahead in your life and get away from these shallow-minded, negative, horrible people. I kind of want to deal quickly with you know, abuse shouted out of cars and stuff like that. And that's the kind of negativity that I kind of get nowadays, is every now and then I'll be walking along, minding my own business, and somebody will shout something completely unintelligible out of their car. And it's completely impossible to hear what they've actually said. I tend to laugh at them. I never laugh with bullies, but I always laugh at them, because, you know, their behaviour is just so stupid and shallow and childish. I tend to just go, what was that? And just carry on walking. If you get people, you know, shouting abuse at you on the street, just kind of like I said before, just try and avoid it, try and ignore it. Basically, like I said before, they want a response. They want you to respond to them. And that's what they're doing that for, because they're so shallow and so small that they think that getting a response from somebody that way is the only way to live your life. But like, don't respond too much to them, because they're just not, that's what they want, and they're just going to carry on. Whereas if you just go and carry on walking, they're not going to pay any more attention to you. They're going to move on to the next victim, the next person they feel that they can victimise. So never ever allow yourself to be a victim. You know, take care of yourself, look after yourself, respect yourself. Always be aware that in rising above the bullies, you are a better person. You are a better person than those bullies. You will always be a better person than those bullies. Because as long as you're comfortable in the core of who you are, right deep down inside, then A, they're probably not going to bother you in the first place. So if you're always walking around with your head held high and completely, obviously comfortable in your skin, you're not an easy target. They're not going to victimise you. But also, it just makes you feel better inside. I just want to finish off by saying, don't ever forget that you're not alone. Bullying happens to so many people, especially those people who have the courage to be different than the mainstream. You're not alone. You have a tribe out there of people who are like you, who've been through similar to you, who are going to welcome you with open arms. You know, you just need to reach out and find them. Do the things that you love. Be confident in your core of who you are, and never, ever, ever let the bullies change you, because you're far too unique and special to ever become anything like them. Always reach out for help from people you trust and organisations that have been put together specifically for this purpose of helping people who've been bullied. You're never alone, okay? There are those of us out there who believe in you and who know that you are special and unique and so, so brave for remaining who you are. So good on you for doing that, for staying who you are and for being true to your core beliefs. And never let the bullies touch you, because they are not worth it. They are so not worth it. Take care, everybody. Lots of love. And I'll see you all again very soon.